So thanks everyone for joining us today. We will be discussing getting a 360-degree view of your CX program with the new Loop Experience platform. So this is actually a product overview of our new Loop 360 for survey projects. So Sahil, will you mind flipping to the next screen? So I'd like to introduce the team that we have here today. This is our Bembria team. So we have Jason, who is our account manager. We have Sahil, our senior implementation specialist. And of course, I'm Sandra. I'm the marketing manager here at Bembria. So thanks everyone for joining us. We have a great presentation ahead of us today. Super excited to share this with everybody. So if you wouldn't mind flipping over the next screen, we'll discuss the agenda today. So whether you use Loop for years and years or you are new to Loop, we will give you a quick, simple overview of what Loop is. So that way everyone's up to date and we're working together there. And then I will introduce the Loop 360 new user experience. So this will include planning projects 101, so your guide to our self-service experience of creating survey projects. Then we'll have Sahil go through and give us a demo of a Loop CX. We will continue the discussion by talking about closed loop feedback with our action management framework that comes with Loop 360. Then Sahil will give us, of course, a demo on how that ticket management works, as well as the inbox features. And then we'll close out the webinar today by talking about dashboards, reporting, the insights you're collecting, as well as how to maximize your CX program. So I'll flip it over to Jason here, and he can start us off with giving us an overview as to what Loop is so that everybody knows what we're talking about. Go ahead, Jay.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Sandra. Yeah, I'm just going to go over it. If some of you have never seen Loop before, some of you have some familiarity with it, and in those latter cases, we'll show you some new features and some things that Sandra was talking about, and Sahil will demonstrate them for you. But to get things started and pretending that everybody is new to it, so what is Loop and what can it do for you? So think of it as 4 pillars. You get the collect, engage, analyze, and act. So the collect is the method from which people access the survey and get that information into the software. You can see this scanning a QR code, a kiosk, web link, text, email, and so forth. So all those different touch points or channels that we call it. And the key differentiator here is that this is actually live. It's in real time. So you're collecting the information, the feedback while the consumers are in the moment. So it's the most accurate without the a day or a week's worth of distraction. So you're getting that motion in real time. So that segues over to the engagement portion. The engage, again, because it's in real time, your comment can now turn into a conversation. So if you choose to leave your email address or your phone number, now you can actually have a real-time on-site conversation. So you can picture if somebody has an issue on site, so you can make that negative experience and flip it over into a positive one live. And so all that information from all those different touch points are pooled together into our software, where everything is analyzed against your KPIs. You can be as granular as you design, or look everything holistically. And it's really, really quick and easy way to see all that data that you need and easily export it to present it to the stakeholders as need be. And then what do you do with all this information? Now you have the action. So as we'll explain later today, we have new ticketing action. So if you respond to the survey results and creating a ticket, so now you can measure up against your SLAs, either in a contract or as if an internal one yourself. Also, if you picture, say, a heat map that has days of the week and hours of the day through it. You see green dots where it's a positive experience and red dots where there's a negative. So you can see where exactly pinpoint times of the day or week that you have a good experience or a bad experience. And if it is a negative experience, you can say, okay, who's working, what did we serve, if it's a food service thing, or we understaffed, and so forth. So that's what Loop is. So some of the typical obstacles when collecting this data, sometimes there's too many touch points. Sometimes you have too many programs in place where everything has a little bit of an engagement aspect to it, but that can get clunky. Maybe a POS system has a little bit of engagement, maybe some other software you have for facilities management. So this pulls it all together into one. So we solve that by making sure everything's looped into the same spot and it's shared. And too little, too late, as I mentioned before, the real-time on-site feedback ensures that you're getting it live. So it's never too little too late. And for too few insights, again, we have the ability to pull this information, this feedback over. If you picture, say, the campus experience, so now you can have touch points as you walk through, say, into a lobby of a building or general area in a school. You go grab a coffee, you go to the cafeteria, and so forth. You can follow the journey of the consumer, and to make sure you get those insights, and couple that with conditional logic. Now you can drill down a little further into to really get in the essence of what the feedback, what the intention is from the consumer. And this is just how it works. So if you follow to the left-hand side, this example of the kiosk, and obviously you can access it with your phone too. So all these different touch points, you can answer the surveys, you can leave comments, you can engage in those conversations, and all that is pulled into the shared real-time inbox. You can have your users set up, and that you can see that inbox in the top center. And your users, it could be set up to have different access controls. Sometimes they want to have more of a admin control. Sometimes they're just responding to questions. You can set that all up in one shared spot. And if you go further into the bottom right there, you can see the same information is where you can find all the data, all the graphs. You can customize it to exactly what you want to see when you want to see it. So it's quick and easy. So the whole intention here is to save time. So we can set it up with you so you can see exactly what you want to see. You can send it notifications or email digest once a day, once a week. You can send them off to other stakeholders. So we can help you visualize it the way you want to see that. And in the top right-hand corner, this is just an example of an add-on. It's like a scoreboard is what we call it. So a picture of someone's off-site. They just wants to get a general pulse on the location. You can get that information quickly, or even motivate frontline workers if you're picturing in a cafeteria where the people preparing the food in the back can see the sentiment of the people in the dining location, and then how they're doing it as a motivational tactic. And this is just an example of the channels that we have. We like to consider ourselves an omni-channel approach. So if there's a way for people to access the survey, we have the ability to ensure that they have the ability to access it in the method that's easiest for them. If somebody rather email, somebody rather text, and so forth, they have the ability to access that, and they also get the response in the same method too. So again, we're just trying to maximize participation to get the results that you're looking for. And this is an example of the hardware solution. So sometimes people ask what they look like, and you know, some people have certain design features. So maybe the blissful or the elegant, maybe a little more robust there. Sometimes the real estate's pretty small, maybe in a small retail location. So the loop nugget is an option too. And again, obviously we have the wall function as well in the loop Wally. And that concludes my portion, I believe.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that, Jay. Appreciate you going over Loop and you know, how it works for those that have not used it. I am actually going to push out a quick poll just to kind of gauge where everybody is as far as their Loop knowledge is concerned before we dig into 360. So I'm just going to push out this poll here now. If you wouldn't mind just going ahead and replying to what your experience with Loop is here, then we can just kind of gauge where everybody's at, and then we'll go ahead and dig into 360 and how it's different from Classic. Awesome. Thanks everyone for going ahead and completing that poll. So now we'll start to dig into Loop 360 and see where we are. So Sahil, if you wouldn't mind flipping to the first slide here for me. Awesome. So here are the overview key enhancements of Loop 360. Like we said, we are going to see it live in action shortly with Sahil's wonderful demo. But to give you a bit of an overview as to what we're going to be seeing today, the key enhancements with Loop 360 are an enhanced survey builder. So we now have the option to create your own surveys in what they call a WYSIWYG. So what you see is what you get type of survey builder. It's literally a drag and drop, very easy for everyone to use. So you can go ahead and create your survey and modify them as you need to for each of your deployment in a very easy to use way. We have now introduced action management into the survey projects. So if you, for example, want to know every time somebody gives you a response of 2 out of 5, then you can go ahead and have action management set so that a ticket is created when you get that type of response. So you can go ahead and follow up on that feedback in a more efficient way. We now offer project insights. So similar to our custom dashboards, these are actually insights related to individual projects. So if you're creating a project at just the cafeteria, for example, and you want to see the insights for that specific cafeteria project, you can go ahead and do that right in that actual project. Super easy to use. We now introduced a word cloud visualization. So just another one of those visualizations that we offer. So in addition to the heat maps, if you've never seen them before, or the bar graphs and pie charts, we offer word cloud as well now. I did mention tickets. So again, ticket creation is a big feature that is in Loop 360 that you haven't seen before. So we're now offering that ability for that closed loop feedback, which is very important when we're looking at the customer experience as a whole and creating loyalty. And then, of course, when we have those tickets, we have the status, the resolution, the root cause analyses, and a lot more reporting as it relates to why those tickets are created. And then finally, Jay mentioned earlier, service level agreements. It is a very important feature. So that way you can make sure you're upholding your KPIs for your agreements, whether you're working with a client or you're running the business yourself. You want to be able to ensure that brand standards are being met at every avenue. So planning projects 101. So a lot of our surveys are definitely a key functionality to what a lot of people use Loop for. So this in survey builder project is definitely key to the platform, Loop CX, if you are looking at the actual projects, whether it's from one of the feature sheets I've shared with you in the past, or if it's on our website, that's where you're going to find this particular product. So the Enhanced Survey Builder project, like I mentioned earlier, allows you to drag and drop right from your toolbar. So whether you're doing a 5-star question or a comment box, you're literally dragging it over from the toolbox into the actual mainstay there. And then, of course, we do now offer multiple languages. We understand that everybody's in different regions, so we do have a translation option within the project platform. And then distribution of surveys, this is key. So whether you have a kiosk or you're using a QR code, you can actually set the distribution for your survey projects right in the actual projects tab, making it very easy. So you can download that QR code, use it in your marketing collateral right away. So you don't have to wait on any of that for it to happen. And then, of course, there is the actions tab of the survey project. So again, your actions don't have to be uniform across all your projects. They can be custom for individual projects. So if you have different KPIs or SLAs to meet in individual projects, you can go ahead and do that through the action management tab in survey projects. And then finally, like I mentioned earlier, the insights tab will allow you to view the analytics of your individual project. So I've kind of talked away here as far as what the individual project builder looks like, but now I think it's time for us to see it live in action. So Sahil, I will turn it over to you to show everybody how it works in the real world.
Thank you very much, Sandra. All right, so this is the new Loop 360 user experience. Those of you that have used Loop previously, we're sort of referring to that as our Loop Classic view. This, however, is our Loop 360 view. Now, the landing page for this is very similar to what you've seen for the inbox for the existing Classic view. As you can see, we have our conversations, our archived conversations, and our automated responses available here. We've sort of moved them from up here at the top down to the left. But essentially the idea behind the inbox being a centralized place for you to manage communications with your guests and customers still remains in place even for the Loop 360 user experience. Now, one thing you'll notice is if I hover over this black bar on the left, it's actually going to pop out, and we can see here we have our additional options listed. So we have tickets, projects, dashboard, settings, and then under support, we have the ability for you to access our help center or to be able to initiate a chat conversation with us directly from within Loop. We'll go and take a look at tickets very quickly. I'll give a more detailed demo in terms of the ticketing workflow later on in the presentation, but I do just very quickly want to showcase what the tickets page looks like. So if I click into tickets here, this is sort of our main ticketing landing page, and it's sort of broken up into 3 sections. On the left, we have our ticket views. So if you've used any ticketing system in the past, you know that there are a number of different views that are configured by default. You have obviously tickets that are assigned to you as a user, all open tickets, all closed tickets, and just all tickets in general. In the center, you will be able to see a list of tickets within the view that you have specified. So if I click on my tickets here on the left-hand side, the list of tickets that you see there will filter down specifically to show me the one ticket that currently is assigned to me as a user within the system. And then on the right-hand side, we have our ticket filters. So these filters include being able to filter by assignee. So if, let's say, you are a manager at a particular site, you want to be able to filter and look at tickets assigned to specific users. You may have different teams handling different things on site, so you may want to look at specifics in that regard. You would be able to simply click on the little plus icon here and specify which users you wish to view the tickets for. You can also filter tickets by location if you have multiple locations configured within the platform. You can filter tickets by their source, whether they were created manually. You do have the option to create manual tickets within the platform directly, or if you want to look at tickets specifically created as a result of a project or a survey response. You can filter by ticket status as well as by ticket priority as well. So a few different filter options available to you here on the right-hand side. And then you can also sort your tickets by either created date or by ascending or descending in terms of priority, if that's a requirement. Next up, we have our projects. So this is where the surveys that you create will essentially live. We will go through a demo here very shortly to show you the process of actually creating a survey. But each of these projects that you're seeing listed here essentially refers to its own survey, which has been configured and has its own list of questions. We also have our dashboards. The dashboards are useful. They provide a holistic overview of the various information and the responses that have been collected. You're able to report on any metrics that have been collected based on the surveys and the feedback that has been received. Of course, we won't be focusing specifically on dashboards as a point of demonstration today, but suffice to say that there are a number of different ways that you can actually visualize the data and be able to understand and digest the information that has been collected, both from a survey standpoint as well as a ticketing standpoint. So we understand from a ticketing standpoint, you may have certain SLAs that you may be required to meet. So within our platform, we have the ability to be able to enable service level agreements for ticket management, and then you would have the option to be able to report on that to see how far away you were from meeting that particular service level agreement on site. And then last but not least, we have our settings menu. So if I click on that very quickly, we have a few different settings available. We are going to be adding additional options and additional settings as we move forward in the life cycle of Loop 360. At the very highest level, of course, we have some global privacy settings where you'll have the ability to manage things like collecting GDPR consent and the like, if that's of interest to you, as well as enabling double opt-in for guests that are providing their feedback. Survey categories, this is where we'll likely be starting our demo for creating a project. So a category essentially refers to a question type that we have available within our system that you can use to configure a survey and be able to reach out and ask your guests questions. So creating a survey category essentially is the first step in creating a survey project. And then for ticketing, we have a few different options available here in the settings menu. We have the ability for you to be able to set your various ticket statuses. So by default, we have 3 that are available within the system, namely open, resolved, and unresolved. Each of these statuses refers to a state that the ticket is in, whether it's open or closed. And then we can also enable resolutions and root causes so that when you are solving a ticket, when you're going through the ticket workflow process, you can actually indicate what the root cause of the issue was that generated the ticket and what the resolution code was that you utilized in order to be able to solve that particular issue. You can add additional statuses here and even edit existing statuses. So for example, right now, a ticket that is switched from open to resolved does not require a root cause in order for that status to be flipped. If you click on the little pencil icon next to it, you will have the ability to edit whether or not a root cause and a resolution code is required, and you can even disable existing statuses if that is your need. Resolutions and root causes are things that we've built into the platform to, again, provide some additional granularity if you should need it. Again, as you can see, you actually have the ability to entirely disable resolutions and root causes from the platform such that they aren't a factor in solving and resolving your tickets. However, resolutions, you may wish to create some within the system that will allow you once again to be able to report on them and see which resolutions tend to be utilized most frequently. Do you tend to give out a gift card in order to placate a client because of a complaint, or do you issue an apology, or do you just simply conduct an outreach? There are additional resolutions, of course, that you can create. You can simply hit the add button up here in the top right hand corner, name your resolution and provide a description, and then when you go to resolve a ticket, you will be able to pick from the list that's provided in this particular tab. Similarly, for root causes, the idea is the same in that you'll have the ability to identify the root cause for a particular complaint, provide a brief description here, and then of course create your own when you are switching the status of a particular ticket. And last but not least, you can even configure service level agreements within the platform. So you can specify whether a ticket priority should be low, medium, or high, depending on the when and how the ticket was created. And you can even set response and resolution time targets for each of these three statuses, such that you will be notified at a point when a particular response time or resolution time has not been met for a particular status if you are a manager on site. So very quickly here, I want to go over the process of actually creating a survey project. And I want to show you how simple it is using the new Survey Builder UI to not just create a survey, but to be able to distribute the survey and create actions associated with the survey that would lead to the creation of a ticket in the event that an unsatisfactory response is received from a particular guest. So let's go ahead and dive into the categories section and see how we can actually start creating some categories from scratch. Now, obviously, you'll see here we've already got a few categories that have been created. The sections highlighted up at the very top refer to the categories themselves. So a Boolean is simply a binary yes or no question type. A comment box is just a comment box. We have Net Promoter Score, customer satisfaction, multi-choice questions supported in here as well. So let's go ahead and create a couple of categories that we'll use to build our own survey here today. So I'm going to create a couple of Boolean categories, one CSAT, one NPS, and a multi-choice question here. So for creating a category, all you need to do is find the one that you'd like to create, the question type that you'd like to create. So for Boolean, we have this little plus symbol here. So I'm going to click on that, and then I can simply name my category. So I'm going to name this one meal, and then I will hit save. And very shortly, you'll see that the meal category has been added under our Boolean category question type. I'll create another one here and I'll name this timeliness. And that category will be added here as well. Next, I'll create one for the Net Promoter Score question type. I'll hit the plus button here and I'll call this likelihood to recommend. And then under satisfaction, CSAT, I'll go ahead and create one that is called overall satisfaction. And then finally, we have our multiple choice category. This is a category that we can use in the event that we want guests to be able to select from a list of options. So here we can go ahead and hit the plus button. We will get that modal here where I'll be able to type out my category. So for example, I can type out employee name. And then in order to put the list of options, this is where we would configure them, where it says add option text and press enter to submit. So I'll type out a few names here. We'll have Greg, Lisa, Tony, and Mary. And then I'll hit save. And we'll see the employee name category has been created with our list of options here. And that pretty much does it for creating categories. Now that we've created these categories, let's go ahead and actually create a survey using these categories. So I'll go back into the projects screen over here on the left, and I'll click on the green create button up here in the top right-hand corner. Now, when you're creating a new survey, you do need to provide it with a name. So I'll call this Demo Survey 2. And then you need to specify what location this particular project applies to. So from the drop down here, you can select it to apply to a global location. In other words, the guest would have the option of picking a question or picking a location based on the location picker. Alternatively, you could assign it to a single location. So we'll go ahead and assign it to the Union Square location here. And then you can also provide a brief description for the project. So I could say, this is a demo project for Loop 360. I'll hit create. And there we go. We've got Demo Survey 2 has been created. You can see what location it's available at, when the project was created. And on the right-hand side, you can see the status of the project. So this currently is an inactive project, meaning it hasn't been distributed on any channels. And we currently don't have any questions associated with it either. So let's click into the project. And when we do, you'll see up here there are a number of different tabs associated with the project itself. So to start with, we have a summary tab that right now is of course empty because we don't really have any information beyond a brief description that we provided when we created it. You can edit this description at any time by clicking on the little edit icon next to the description and altering it if you'd like. Next up, we have our design tab. So this is our new survey builder. And as you can see, it is a very simple and straightforward survey builder because we have our toolbox of different question types available here on the left-hand side. Anytime you wish to add a specific question, you simply need to click on the appropriate tool from the toolbox and it will get added in here in the center. So to start with, I want to add a couple of Boolean question types because if you recall from the categories that we created, those were meal and timeliness. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Boolean and you'll see that a Boolean question has now been added in. So I'll click on it again and a second one gets added in. So you can either click on it or you can click and drag it. Either or will allow you to edit this particular category now that we've got this in here. So let's go ahead and start typing out the questions that we want to ask within the survey itself. So for question 1, for our meal, I want to ask, were you satisfied with the quality of your meal? Now, one thing I do want to stress is that even though we've added in the question type from here, from the toolbox on the left, and we've added our question, it's important to note that we need to specify what category this question is associated with. So if you look on the right-hand side for this question, you'll see 2 drop-downs, one for category and one for theme. So if I click on the category drop-down, you'll see all of the different Boolean question types that were configured, and we'll want to select meal. And the reason this is important is because this category is what you will be reporting on in the dashboards in order to get an understanding of the different questions that have been asked. So it's important to ensure that your questions are associated with the appropriate categories. Our second question was around timeliness. So were you served in a timely manner? Once again, from the category dropdown, we will choose the appropriate category. And then let's say for this one, we don't want this to appear as faces, but we want this to appear as thumbs up or thumbs down. We can change the theme of that from the dropdown here. Next, we're going to add in a customer satisfaction question type. So I'll just click on CSAT. That question has been added in. And then I'll type out my question here. Satisfied were you? Again, ensuring that it is tied to the appropriate overall satisfaction category. And then from a display standpoint, in other words, what will be visible to the consumer, whether we want it to appear as a scale of 1 to 5 numerically, or we want it to appear as smileys. So I'll choose the faces theme. We'll add an NPS question next. Associated with the likelihood to recommend category. And then we'll add a drop-down menu. So the multi-select question type that we configured is available in one of 3 visualizations. We can actually have it displayed as either a drop-down menu, a radio group, a radio button group, or checkboxes. The checkboxes allow for multi-select, whereas both the drop-down and the radio group allow only for single select. For the multi-select question, ask who helped you today, and then we will select the employee name category. And then last but not least, we'll add in a comment box. For the category of comment, which was already created. So at this point, we are pretty much done with creating our survey. So we'll go ahead and hit the Save Survey button here. There we go, our survey has been saved, and now we can move forward in the process of actually creating additional actions and distributing our survey. We also have a translations tab available here. So if you wanted to be able to make the survey available in different languages, this is where you would actually configure the alternative text for the different languages. So now this does need to be configured on the back end, but once you've specified which languages you wish to be able to make the survey available in, you will be able to come here and specify the alternate text for each of the questions in the survey. I'll get to distributions in a moment, but we'll check out actions first. So this is where we can actually configure our survey to create a ticket based on a particular survey response. So I'm going to go ahead and click the plus button here. And this is where we can actually now create an action to be keyed off of a particular response to this particular survey. So we can give this particular action a title. If CSAT less than 4, create a ticket. And now we can actually specify conditions for this particular action to trigger. So if I click on the little plus icon, I'll be met with the list of questions that we've configured for this particular project. And I want a ticket to be triggered anytime the overall satisfaction receives a score of less than 4. So I'll go ahead and click on how satisfied were you? And we have a variety of different options that we can pick from. I want less than, and from the drop down here, I'll select 4. So anytime someone provides feedback and says their overall satisfaction was less than 4, it will create a ticket within our platform. We can specify the priority of this ticket. So I'll set this to low for now. And we need to provide a subject for the ticket that is created. So I could provide a subject that says low CSAT score received, ticket created. Now I can hit the create button. There we go. Our action has now been created for this project. Now that we've created the action, let's go ahead and distribute the survey. So if we go into distributions, there's two ways that you can currently distribute the survey. You can either create a link channel. In other words, you'll get a web URL with a QR code that you'll be able to place on digital signage or posters on site. Alternatively, you can create a channel for distributing the survey on the kiosk. But for the purposes of the demonstration today, we'll stick with link channels. So I'll click the add distribution button here, and we'll provide a name for the channel here. So I'll just call this demo survey 2, hit create. And there we go, our channel's available here. And now we can click on use. Now these are some other link channels that already exist. So if we wanted to remove an existing link channel, we could just take over that survey URL, which is particularly useful if you have situations where your survey changes frequently. You may not want to change the URL, so you can just take over an existing link channel and the survey would just update itself. So you wouldn't necessarily need to create new distribution channels for your surveys. But for now, I'll go ahead and use this particular channel. And here it is. We've got our web URL. We've got our QR code, which we can download and share the web link as necessary with individuals that may require it. If we head over to the summary tab now, you'll see that currently we now have our details of our link, and we can actually download a PNG file of our QR code in order to be able to take the survey and provide the appropriate feedback and collect feedback from our guests. That pretty much covers it for this portion of the demo. So I'll hand it over to Sandra, who will continue the overview of the presentation, and then we'll hop back in for another demo shortly.
Thanks so much, Sahil. It's great to see the survey projects in action because, like I mentioned earlier, Loop CX is a huge component of the platform because it is that first pillar of collect. So if you want to flip to our next section here, we are talking about closing the loop on feedback with action management. So a big differentiator of Loop versus other platforms is that we are in fact in real time. So because we're in real time, it gives us the opportunity to be able to actually close the loop on the feedback we receive in real time. So our new action management framework will allow for more efficiency in that way. So like Sahil showed you in that demo, you now can create your actions in survey projects, which will automatically create those tickets. So automation is definitely key for a lot of people's workflows. There's not a lot of extra time and resources, so wherever we can automate, we definitely certainly try to do that. We also do offer a chance to have a unique set of actions for individual survey projects. So like we were looking at there, we had several different projects on the go, and all of those SLAs can be different. So everything is certainly customizable, which certainly helps. And then, of course, you can set your priority for the conditions of your tickets. So if you have a certain area, for example, if we're looking at campus experience, if your main cafeteria is getting the most traffic and you want to set that to high priority, then you can certainly set that compared to the cafe, your res commons, for example. So it's certainly customizable in every single way that we can look at, and we do try and reinforce that closed loop feedback for the platform. So. I know Sahil has more to show us as far as action management tickets are created, so I will let him continue there, and then we can look to close out the webinar. I do mention that if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat at any time, and we can get to any questions at the end of the presentation. Go ahead, Sahil.
Thank you, Sandra. All right, so we'll take a look now and see how surveys and inbox and ticket management actually functions. So over here, what I'm looking to do is basically show you both from a guest experience standpoint and a manager standpoint from your side who may be using Loop, how easy it is to start reaching out and collecting feedback from your clients and to potentially once again also showcase the features of the Loop action management and ticketing platform. So on the right-hand side of my screen, All I've done is basically just looking to mirror my phone screen here to show you the guest experience, how the guest is going to actually start to interact. Let's say they're on site, they've scanned the QR code that's available either on digital or poster signage. They're taken to the landing page here. The landing page, of course, is completely customizable. So if you wanted to change your logo, change the text or the colors, all of that can certainly be arranged. So I'm going to go ahead now and click Get Started. Now, the survey that I'm showcasing here is a little bit different compared to what we had configured on our call on the webinar here, but the idea is essentially the same. So we've got a few different question types. We've got our question types pertaining to the various Boolean questions, the overall satisfaction question type available here, and then a question regarding the employees, as well as a comment box here at the end. So one thing that I do want to showcase is our action management platform. And if you recall, in our previous action management platform, when we were configuring our project, we had configured it such that if a particular response is received, a ticket should be created within the project or within the account. So to go ahead and showcase that workflow as well, we'll take a look at the inbox also, but the main focus will be demoing tickets. So in this particular case, let's say I've come to the particular restaurant or on site, and I've had an overall sort of negative experience in terms of the service that I received, and I score 2 on my score of 1 to 5. If you recall from the actions that we configured, this should generate a ticket within our platform when this particular piece of feedback is received. I was assisted by Todd. And then under anything else you would like to add, I'll go ahead and just leave a comment. I can say slow service, please contact me. I can hit submit. And here I have the option of providing my email to request a follow-up. So I'll go ahead and do that here. Now I can click continue, and my feedback will be recorded. Now this is going to do 2 things in our system. It's going to generate both a conversation and a ticket. Now, of course, you may be wondering that, if a particular action is triggered, if the action is triggered on the basis of a bad experience, you probably only want a ticket to be created and not a conversation as well. That can be configured as part of the action framework and the action configuration. I didn't go through that process here today just because I wanted to be able to demo both conversations and tickets. But you are able to configure it such that it does not generate a conversation if the conditions to generate a ticket are also met. From here, you'll be able to see in our conversations inbox, a conversation has been created. So anyone who's on site will see that a message has come through. Few things to note here, you'll be able to see the alias, which is associated with this particular piece of feedback. The alias is just something our system generates in order to be able to uniquely identify individuals. It's not anything the guest ever sees. You'll also see the time at which this particular piece of feedback came in. And you'll see a tag associated with the conversation, depending on what it is that the guest actually mentioned when they provided their feedback. It's based on keywords that guests utilized when they provided their comment. So I'll go ahead and click on the conversation, and when I do, you'll be able to see here the summary of the guest feedback included as part of the conversation. You'll see what location this particular piece of feedback came in for, as well as the comment listed here at the bottom. You'll also see that we have this sort of red frowny face. This is what we refer to as our guest sentiment or temperature. It's essentially not necessarily keyed off of the responses to the survey, rather it's based on the actual tone of the comment that the guest left. So we've integrated Google's natural language processing engine into our system in order to be able to analyze this and provide you with an overview of what the guest felt based on their actual comment. On the right-hand side, you'll see the relevant contact details panel. So if they have contact details associated with them, in my case, I had provided my email, you'll be able to see that here. And then, of course, the alias, which is the same as what you've seen over here on left. Now, in order to follow up or initiate a conversation with this particular individual, you do have the ability of simply typing out your response down here at the bottom. So you can simply type in a comment and say, sorry to hear that. Could you please provide more details? You can send that, and now the guest is going to receive an email with this particular message at the email address that they provided. So from their perspective, it's pretty simple and straightforward. In order to be able to communicate with members of your team, they will then have the opportunity to send an email back, and they will be able to communicate with your team on the channel that they prefer via email. You also have the option to leave an internal note on the conversation that you do not wish the guest to be able to see. You'll see here that the background changes to a purple. So I'll have the ability to leave a note and say, hit post. And now that message is going to get added to the conversation, but the guest will not receive that on their side. And then you can simply also archive the conversation once you've assisted the guest, just to ensure that the active conversations tab remains free only for active conversations, and the archive conversation has now moved out into the archive tab. So from an inbox perspective, it's pretty much the same workflow that if you've used Loop before, you're likely already familiar with. But I do want to now showcase the ticketing workflow as well. So if I head into tickets now, you can see that we actually have a new ticket that's been created. So this was the ticket that got created in terms of created 4 minutes ago. As you can see, you have the ability to visualize the location that this ticket was created for, and of course the title of the ticket that was created as a result of the title that we provided in the action itself. The priority for this is set to low. It is currently open. Now it is unassigned. So what I'm going to do is click on the drop down and assign it to myself. Now that I have done that, if I navigate to my tickets, I should see the ticket that I assigned to myself pop up. All right, so when we want to work on this particular ticket, we can click on it. And as we do, we'll be able to see a few things within the actual ticket itself. So we can see here the message or the comment that the guest left when they provided us their feedback that has created and initiated the ticket itself. On the right-hand side, we have information pertaining to the ticket, such as the due date. So this due date is calculated on the basis of the priority that the ticket is currently set to. And a low priority ticket has a specific resolution time that, if you recall, we saw in our settings menu, and that is what the due date is used to calculate. We also have the ability to assign our resolutions and our root causes. You can see the contact information for this particular guest. And down here, you can see the source of this particular ticket, as well as the various responses to the actual survey as well. So all of that information is available for you here in order to be able to make the appropriate decision when you are reaching out to this particular guest. Now, in order to reach out to this particular individual, it's fairly straightforward. All you do is come over here and you can type out a comment and send that to the guest. Now, just like any ticketing workflow, you do have the ability to, instead of leaving a public comment on the ticket that would be visible to the guest, you have the option of leaving a private note on the ticket. Rather than having that message go to the guest, you perhaps just want to leave something internally for other members of the team that may be viewing the ticket at a later date. You do have the ability to leave a private note, but I'll go ahead and type out a public comment here, and I'll say, apologies for your experience. Please accept this gift card from us. And then of course you'll have the opportunity to link a gift card or provide them with a gift card if necessary, and then you can send this message. The guest will then receive that message via email, once again at the same contact information or the same contact email that they provided. And I can also show you what that template looks like. Just a moment. So there we go. This is the email that I've received. A new comment was made on your feedback. Apologies for your experience. Please accept this gift card. Please reply to this email if you wish to leave an additional comment for our team. And from here, I now will have the opportunity as a guest to respond to this particular piece of feedback. And I can say, thank you. It is much appreciated. And now I can hit send on this particular email, and that message will get added to the ticket relatively shortly. So it's pretty simple and straightforward for, once again, from a workflow standpoint, to be able to provide that particular feedback, to create a ticket, and then for the guest to be able to respond to a response that has been received from Loop. You'll also have a history tab, so you'll be able to see updates to the ticket. So you'll see when the ticket was created, when it was assigned to a particular user. So it's essentially for each ticket, you also have a full sort of history and breakdown in terms of updates that were made on this particular ticket. From here, we have the ability to assign a resolution as well. So if we say we provided a gift card and the root cause was our service, we can go ahead and assign those resolutions and root causes, and we'll have the ability to update the status of the ticket from open to resolved. We'll have the ability to be able to provide some closing comments on the ticket. Alternatively, I mean, that's optional, you don't have to. Just go ahead and close the ticket, pop up with a message that says the ticket was closed. And now if we go out into closed tickets, we will see that particular ticket visible here. Here you can see the user's response has been added in as well. That concludes the demo for the inbox and the ticket management portion. I'll hand it back to Sandra to take us through to the conclusion of the webinar.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sahil. So we have about 5 minutes left in our presentation today. So at this point, I will give everyone the opportunity to pop any questions they may have in the chat as I go through the last little bit of our summary of our webinar today. So that way we can get back to any questions that you may have. Now, before I get into the final portion of our webinar, I am going to push out one last poll here. Now that we've shown you Loop 360 UI in action, I'd love to get your feedback as to how you feel about the new features and what you will find most valuable in Loop 360. So from everything from survey projects to ticketing to the action management framework for the automation or the Loop inbox, I'd love to know what you find is the most valuable feature that Loop 360 brings to the table for your particular deployments and workflows. So I'll give you a second there to go ahead and reply. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at a little bit into the insights. I'm just going to give a quick overview as to dashboards, but we do have a full demo of dashboards available on our YouTube channel and on our website. So if you did want to look into dashboards a little bit more in depth, that option is available. But I do want to go, of course, into insights with you so that you have an idea of what type of reporting we have to offer. So I'll close the poll down there. And so as we know, with most of our deployments, reporting is definitely key. So you're collecting all this data, but what you do with this data is very, very important. So essentially we have very sophisticated reporting engine that allows you to create custom dashboards and share them with various stakeholders within your organization. So not only are you able to create your dashboards to view the data that you're looking at, you can pass them to the various stakeholders within. So like I said, before, there are role specifics. So again, we're using a drag and drop scenario. So super easy to use and modify, and you can create unique sets based on the reportings that you're doing. So whether you're reporting on your KPIs to your clients or stakeholders within your company, you have the ability to collect the data that you're looking for. Exporting dashboards is always super important. So you can download into PDF, copy them into emails. You also have the option to download them into the PNGs and JPEGs. So in those images, pop those into those presentations. Whether you report on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, or annual basis, the data is there for you to use. And of course, we have all of our visualizations that we were looking at earlier. So everything from pie charts to bar graphs, heat maps, it's completely customizable, and the options are yours. So like I said, if you want to dig deep into dashboards, we do have a video available for your viewing. But in the essence of time today, we will go ahead and not demo that. So if you wouldn't mind flipping to our last slide here, I'll just completely sum up our presentation, talking about that CX program and getting those maximum results out of it. So I put together a quick little list here of survey projects best practices. We get this asked a lot. How do I make my survey the most engaging? How do I get the best responses? So looking at Loop and Loop 360 as a whole, some best practices include omni-channel approach. So like Jay mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, we're using 10 channels of engagement. So for you to be where your customers are, obviously, is critical. Mapping your customer journey is very important. So knowing which touch points your customers will face in a journey is very important. So making sure they're all covered as necessary. Like so he'll give you a demo of the surveys, keeping them super simple. 3 to 5 questions is ideal. So a range of smiley faces and thumbs, comment boxes and drop downs. Keeping those surveys simple makes it easy to respond to with a high engagement. And of course, closing the loop on feedback is super important. It creates loyalty in customers, and they'll continue to provide you feedback if they feel like they're being heard. And then, of course, we need to report back on those KPIs. So if you set your benchmarks, you can review your reports and analytics often and make sure that you are reaching your targets. And if there's any improvements that need to be made to your workflow, you can use that data to support it. We do offer a Loop SDK. I like to share this with everybody. I know a lot of people use apps in their organizations, from hospitality to education to food services. Loop does have an SDK, so we can go ahead and embed into a variety of mobile apps. Reach out to us. We can talk about all the technical requirements. I won't get into it today, but of course, using an app is a great way to engage your audience as well. And of course, we have a full team here to support you today. I have Jay and Sahil, but we do have other members of the team, including customer success and support, as well as, of course, myself in marketing. We're always here to help. So we are a very engaged team. So you can contact us through any of these types of email addresses or through our website, and we're happy to help you out here. All right, look, guys, we are at the top of the hour. Time flies when we're having fun. I hope everyone got a lot out of this presentation today. Like I mentioned, we are recording this particular webinar, so we will go ahead and email you out a copy so that you can share it with your team members, or if you missed a portion of it throughout, you can go back and review. As always, we are here to help you guys out, so definitely reach out should you have any questions. Jason, Sahil, thanks so much for joining me today and showcasing all of the great things Loop 360 has to offer. And we look forward to seeing everyone next time.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye, guys.